Well, here it is, the middle of June 2026, and it looks like I'm starting to get better. I was injured very badly, and I also got sick from internal injuries, and had to fly back to Portland, Texas. And my wife is still in the Philippines, and so I've been here for about, I guess, about 3 months now. And I'm just now getting where I can walk a little bit, hobble around, and I'm getting some strength back. Started doing push-ups, kind of inverted push-ups, and some light weights last couple of days, and stretching exercises a little bit. So it looks like I'm going to get better. I'm feeling a little better, and I thought it'd be a good time to start making videos again. I went almost 17 months there. I only put out 2 or 3 from old footage. So I'm ready to get back and start making some videos. One thing I'd like to do is tell some of my life stories. I've got some pretty interesting things that happened. And most of the things that were so interesting happened. I was traveling by myself, doing most unusual things, and I had some really great experiences. I didn't take a lot of photos at that time back then, and so I've got some good stories to tell, and you'll just have to use your imagination. I'll tell you a quick story about why I'm doing so many photos now when I didn't take any before. Back in, it seems like it was 1998, I believe it was, when the man that raised me died. And his daughter, his 2 daughters, I call them my sisters. To me, they are. Those people raised me for a pretty long time. I was in my early teens. And I've kept in touch with some of them to this day. So anyway, my sister got in touch with me and told me that, I call him my daddy, that daddy died, and she wanted me to go to his funeral. Well, I had just started a new job, which is from every 3 or 4 years to every 6 months with me. I move. I move around a lot. So I had just started a new job, and it just wasn't a good time to take off, and I was kind of low on funds at the moment. And so she actually stepped up and said, look, I want you there, and she paid for my round trip ticket. And I said, well, if you want me to go that bad, I'll go. I didn't want to take it, and I really didn't want to go to the funeral. I'm not real big on that. And but I told her I'd go. And so I packed my things, and I actually borrowed a little money so I'd have some spending money. And I told them where I just started work. I said, I'll be back in a week or 2, whatever it was. I got to go to a funeral. And they said, okay. So I flew out, and we had a gathering at the funeral home. And everybody, it was normal. Everybody's glad to see each other, even if it's a funeral. People haven't seen each other for 20 or 30 years. They're busy living. They're busy making a living and raising a family and taking care of bills, and they fall out of touch with each other. And it seems like after a while, funerals are the only time, or weddings and funerals are the only time you get to see each other. So anyway, people were talking real loud and sharing their stories of where they had been the last 20 or 30 years. I personally have been gone for a good while. Probably 15 years I had been gone, at least 10 or 12. And I hadn't seen most of those people. I hadn't been thinking about them, to be honest with you. And I was busy, and I was traveling, and I was seeing the world. And so I sat down with a group of them that I thought more of than others. And I was listening to them tell their stories. And I used to be so painfully shy that I was like a turtle. I just withdraw within myself or go sit in a corner. Well, I had to stop being like that. I had not been around that or thought like that in quite some time. And so I decided to throw in a couple of stories with them. And I don't tell stories the best in the world, as you can see, but I've got good stories to tell. And so I told a story about when I was up in Alaska, some things that happened on a ship. We hit a storm. I believe the wind was blowing. The gusts were 167 miles an hour. And that broke the wind gauge, so they probably got worse than that. The waves were 60 feet high. And the captain, I remember I was so seasick on that ship, and the captain came down to the galley where I was at, below where he pilots the ship. He came down just to tell us, I don't think we're going to make it. And the waves they looked like mountains all around us, and then all of a sudden we're on top of a mountain looking down into the low areas. And then we'll be down low and looking at water all around us. And it's a little scary, but you're so seasick, you can't get scared much because you're just sick. And your equilibrium's off, your balance is off, you're sick as a dog. And at the same time, there's something beautiful about it. The color of the water was a very peculiar color. I don't know what color you'd call it, but it was dark, and up towards the top it would be light, greenish, bluish. It looked like death. It sure did. But it was beautiful at the same time, and the snowflakes were as big as your fist, as big as your hand. That's the truth. They would come down, and they were wet snowflakes. They'd splash when they hit. And you really felt them when they hit. And the crew members, a lot of them had to go out and tie off with a rope and take a baseball bat and break the ice off the rails in any place they could see ice, because you become top heavy. At some point you get too top heavy and the ship will roll over sideways and you go under. And they were afraid that's what was going to happen. And in those rough seas, you hit one wave wrong and you'll roll. And we almost did that several times. And that storm lasted for days like that. And I couldn't hold any food down. And, well, I won't tell that whole story right now. But there was two other stories. Another one in Alaska, the temperature got down to 57. I believe it was 57 below zero. And it would hit 57 below zero and stop like it hit a brick wall. I mean, it would be dropping rapidly. And all of a sudden it just stopped. And that's where it would stick at. And for, I think it was 2 solid weeks. And it happened to be in the 2 weeks that we had to be outside because of an emergency. A pipe had blown out and we had to deal with that. Normally you're not outside that much. You go from module to module, from your vehicle to a module. You feel the cold for a minute, but you're not usually out in it that much. That time we were outside 12 hours a day, most of the part of 12 hours, and we got to experience it. So that's 2 stories I told. And the third story I told was about, I was in Israel, and I had taken a 4-month vacation from where I was working in Alaska. And they were shelling Haifa up in the northern part of Israel the day that I happened to visit Haifa. And so this was just after the Gulf War, or the Desert War? I forgot what they call it. Desert Storm. And so that sort of thing didn't scare me much, but it's part of the adventure, and you can get killed, you can get hurt. Odds are you won't. When they're lobbing mortars and missiles from a distance, chances are you'll be fine. And missiles don't make me nervous. Close up and personal, somebody pointing a gun at me, that bothers me really bad. And so that happened to me. I squared off with a helicopter that pointed their guns at me because I was filming in a restricted zone of the missiles going, and I knew exactly what they were thinking when they saw me, that I was probably calling in coordinates and guiding the missiles. So I had a very expensive camera, threw it down and broke it on the rock in front of me. I was sitting in front of a cave, and I was just thinking, those are 20 millimeters, and it's just going to hum and I'll be gone. I'll be a greasy spot on this rock here. And I opened my hands and I put my fingers apart, and I smiled like a goof at him. And he hesitated for a second, pivoted to the north, and took off towards Lebanon. He was going to go, somebody had told him where somebody was, and he was about to go smoke somebody, I promise. Well, I left a lot of things out in those stories. The point was, I told some of the lesser stories. Those 3 stories were believable. They were true. And they were part of my experience. I've always had a little bit more cojones than some people should have, I guess. More cojones than brains, I suppose. But I've seen some very interesting things. And so anyway, that's all I wanted to tell. I decided if I tell some of the really good ones, nobody will believe it. And they're pretty far out there, some things that I've seen. And would be unbelievable to a lot of logical thinking people. And so I didn't push it. And I quit telling the story. And so anyway, the next day, I was back down at my sister's, and one of the people that were there at the funeral came to me. And I've always just thought the world of this fella. And as a matter of fact, he's the one that got me started traveling. He was a world traveler himself. I believe he's been around the world at least 5 times. That's a lot of traveling. It's a big planet. I only managed to get around it one time, and then a lot of shorter trips. And it took me 65 years to make it clear around the planet. And that wore me out. So, yeah, he's done a lot of traveling. So, anyway, he told me, he says, they came to me and told me that they didn't believe you had done all that. And I've never felt so insulted in my whole life. I didn't show it. I smiled when he said it, and I said, well, they're just a bunch of gossips and whatever. Doesn't matter. But it did matter. It bothered me. And so I decided to start taking pictures of every place, which really is weak. But I did. I started taking film footage and pictures with my telephones everywhere I went after that. And I do selfies galore. And I'm like, take a picture of me standing in front of a sign in Homer, Alaska that says Homer, Alaska, and I go, hey, I'm not really here in Homer. I had this sign made special. The moose and the glaciers and stuff behind me, I made all that up. They're not real. And I meant that to be an insult. And I was going to send it to them. Never did. Never got around to doing it. But, yeah, I've got some footage now. And so I saved the best for last. I went to Germany first, and I traveled a lot, as much of Europe as I wanted to. And I did some very unusual things. I'll tell some of those stories another time. I was in the Army, And I lived there for, I don't know, it was over a year. And I wound up going back. I was so impressed with Germany, and quite frankly, I'm a Christian now and I don't drink. But for the longest time, I did. And then when I quit drinking, I would still have a beer because I liked the taste. And so I went back to Germany to see a girl that I had actually met in Eilat, Israel, in the southern tip of Israel on the Dead Sea. We stayed in touch for a couple of years, and I decided to go see her. We really liked each other. Sparks flew, and we only were around each other for about a week. And while I was there in Israel, I was tan, I was buff, I was swimming out in the Dead Sea every day. I was walking everywhere just to get the exercise, and I was really slim, trim, muscular, and tan. And I still had some hair at the time, so I didn't look too bad. And 2 years later, working up in remote Alaska, when you're working 12, 14, 15 hours a day, you wolf down all the food you can get your hands on and go work your rear end off. It's very unhealthy. And so over a 2-year period, I bellied up, and I fattened up. I still have my muscle, but I got a lot bigger, and I looked just fat. I had lost the rest of my hair, and I was pale white, no tan whatsoever. Saved up a lot of money, went to go see this gal. And so, long story short, I saw her. She lived in I can't remember the name of the town. Anyway, it's close to Hamburg. And Kiel. She lived in Kiel, Germany, northern Germany. And when I saw her, did not look like the same person either. She had gained probably 40 or 50 pounds and was just frumpy. Looked like a middle-aged school teacher that had had several children of her own. She'd never been married or had children, but she gained a lot of weight. And she was no longer a blonde-haired Nordic, but was a pretty fat German girl, and with mousy brown hair, and loose clothing to hide her fatness, and she had gained a lot of weight. So anyway, she looked at me and kind of, I could see it. Mentally, she was saying, ew. And I looked at her, and mentally I said, nuh-uh. And I smiled, she smiled, and we greeted each other, and we proceeded to spend the next 5 weeks with each other. We got along pretty good. Her friends were insulting. She managed not to insult me too much. And I stayed at her house and just kind of got out and explored Kiel and some castle. Went towards Berlin, didn't make it all the way to Berlin, but the people in the northern part of Germany are very snooty anyway. And so anyway, there's some more stories to tell. And let's see. Middle East. Then went back to Europe again. Then I've seen almost every state. I've spent a lot of time in most of them. Some of them I may have just passed through, but been there. In Alaska, I spent about 26 and a half years of my life off and on. I think you could add up 20 some odd years altogether of the time that I lived in there in the state. I would go back and forth from Washington State, which is beautiful and I love it. Oregon, Portland, Oregon area. And I'd go back up and forth to Alaska for years and years and years, a couple of decades. And would do jobs in different remote work camps. And instead of paying thousands of dollars to go see some remote area or some touristy area for a couple of weeks, I spent years and years working in remote Alaska, all the remote work camps that I could get my hands on. So out the Aleutian Island chain, up and down the Inside Passage, and on the mainland also. I got to go through a lot of Canada, British Columbia, was the only place I wanted to go. And I actually was in eastern Canada once, briefly, but I got to drive the Alcan Highway. And so anyway, life has been a great adventure. One of the biggest insults I ever heard was, yeah, he didn't do all that. You call me a liar? Really? I've been down the road here somewhere hiding, pretending I was, those postcards I sent, I had them made or something and faked the stamps. I don't know what they're thinking. But anyway, the same person this last year was watching some of my YouTube channel and saw video of, I think I was in Hong Kong or someplace, maybe Tokyo. And he said to me, "You sure live an adventurous life." That made up for everything. That one person said that. And, well, you could tell I wasn't making it up. I got the film footage and the selfies. And so I shouldn't have actually done all that as far as the selfies, because that doesn't matter anyway. But I just couldn't understand why people would be like that and think that way. That they're so high and I'm so low that I had to go somewhere and hide and make up that I went to all these places. No, I really have. I just wanted to share it. I wasn't rubbing it in their faces either. They just couldn't believe, I guess, that they hadn't done it, couldn't do it, and I had done it. And I guess they saw me as, I don't know, because I was so shy and broken as a child, I suppose they thought I'd always be that. And oddly enough, when I went back there and I was around those same people, I started feeling that way again. I felt broken and I felt vulnerable and shy and hurt. Didn't like that a little bit because I was 39 years old when I went back. That's a little old to be feeling like a child again. So I left there and I got no business going back there again. There'll be no more funerals or no more much of anything in that part of the world, I don't suppose. So getting to the point, I'm ready to start telling some of the really good stories, some of the things that I've seen. The name of the program, the channel, is Amazing Last Days of Michael Evans. But Amazing Lifetime Days of Michael Evans. And I'll share some of those good stories. I'll start doing a lot more of that. And start putting out videos again of what's going on around me wherever I'm having my new adventure. My adventure at the moment, I'm getting better. I'm able to walk, hobble, and I can actually hobble without a cane if I want to for a little while. I really should use a cane, but there's plenty of times I just make myself not do it. I'm not on the crutches anymore, and I can actually step with both feet. I spent about a year flat on my back and couldn't take one step. So I'm getting the feeling back in my lower hips, my legs. My legs weren't so numb. My right one kind of was. But anyway, I'm pretty sure there was some nerve damage. And the VA's been a champion. Let me say something nice about them. They've really helped me. But the one thing they haven't done is sit down and talk with me about starting to exercise and take medicines to get better. Now, they gave me some medicine that was lost at the airport in my luggage. They replaced that. That's major help. And they've done probably tens of thousands of dollars worth of tests X-rays, CT scans. I can't remember everything, but just a lot of tests and seeing me for this and that, different specialists and so forth. And I think we're at the point now where I'm going to have to speak up a little bit and get them to start the next stage. And I've already started it on my own. I'm like I said, making myself walk and so forth. So I'm starting to get healthier. Hopefully I'll be able to, within a few months, I hope I'll be able to go back to work and earn enough money to get back to my wife in the Philippines. I'm drawing Social Security, and I was very content with that. That was fine. And without the medical emergency, that was plenty of money. So let me mention that while I'm just jumping around and talking about everything. The amount that I get per month is a little low because I took it early. I took it at 62 on my birthday. I was in there getting that done. And so I took it immediately. You start drawing it a month after your birthday. And that lessens your percentage, supposedly. And so what I'm drawing right now in 2026 is $1,450 exactly. And that leaves about $200 a month that if you want to, you can save that. And maybe even could save, probably if I really tightened up, $300 or $400. We live fine. We wouldn't go out much at all, to the grocery store and go out to eat once or twice. And then the rest of the month, and a lot of people are like that here in the States. You cook and eat at home. You watch TV. You go for walks. I'm retired. I can do what I want. So, if I wanted to save more, I could. But I wasn't at the stage where I was ready to do that. Still had plenty of things I wanted to buy. I like to make things. My wife likes to fix the house up, and she's constantly buying things for the house. And she's kind of like the president's wife of the Philippines from years ago. She got like 3,000 pairs of shoes. She probably got 20 something pairs of shoes. That's a lot of shoes, man. I've got a pair of shoes I'm wearing right now somebody gave to me. I've got some really ugly flip-flops. I've got some pretty nice leather, I don't know what you call them, but they're light flip-flops, but they're only better, like the Roman sandals. Thank you. And what else? My best pair of cowboy boots in the world, full ostrich quill cowboy boots, beautiful boots, comfortable. Oh my God, soft material. Can't replace them. If I had $750 to do it, I can't do it. So those got lost, but I've still got another really good pair of cowboy boots, and I've hardly wore those. But I've got 3-4 pair of shoes, and that's it, and a pair of boots. And that, to me, that's a lot. 22 pair of shoes. She's going to laugh when she sees this video because I give her a hard time about it all the time. What'd they call that? What was her name? Imelda Marcos or something like that. And she had thousands and thousands of pair of designer shoes that were worth probably hundreds of thousands of dollars or something. The strangest thing is my wife she's got those 22 pair of shoes, and there's a rack in the bedroom, and it's just full of those shoes. And they all look the same to me. They don't look different. There's not all these different colors. They're all off-white, and they're all about the same kind of shoe. But you know what? That makes her happy, and that comes out of her money. The money that I get, I remember telling her one time, I made the mistake of saying my money, and I didn't mean that at all. It's not my money. It's our money. She's my wife. So I don't know if I'm going to like hand her half of it or hand her all of it, but yeah, it's her money. And we make sure the bills get paid. Once all the bills are paid, we pretty much split what's left. Unless one has a special need over the other, we both get about 10,000 pesos each to spend any way we want to. So that's fine. I buy my little tools and maybe go to the tool store or someplace or ride around on the scooter or whatever. And she buys things for that. She loves to get those little packages from Lazada, and Shopee. And then there's Amazon and all that. And it's kind of fun. You're waiting on your package. It's almost like getting a present even though you paid for it. So, in short, I'm going to start making videos again. And if you have not been watching my channel, I hope you'll like and subscribe. It's free. And I do have some good stories to tell. So, check back in. I'm going to try to make, I'm going to say about a video a week, if not two. And certainly a video a week and a music video. I love making music videos. So look for that. And I'll do one of my wife maybe here in the next few days. And should be a pretty good one, at least a music video. And so if you will, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.